You know, if you've been to a fabulous event in the Bay Area, certainly one with gorgeous food and fabulous wines, it's probable that our next guest had something to do with it. Welcome, Andrew Freeman.
Hello.
Now, you really are kind of the guru of fabulousness in San Francisco.
I guess you could say there's other gurus, that may, ride in that wave with me. But yes, I like this. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my tiara proudly.
There you go.
Yes.
Now, you didn't bring your what's become a brand for you. Your two dogs.
Yep.
You got written up in the paper, and your dogs were with you.
They're the mascots of the company. Their names are Daisy and Tulip. Read between the lines.
Yeah.
And they're Yorkies and they're sisters, and we call them the new San Francisco twins.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes, and they're usually with me.
Now, San Francisco has a reputation as a city that knows how to throw a party. What do you think people don't get about how difficult it is to do a special event in San Francisco?
I think honestly, it comes down to really the right list of people, and that's both on the production side and on the guest list side. And it's, I think, a beautiful special event when it comes together, you sort of know it. Like, it's just, you're there in the space and everything is going great. I think what people don't know is how many things don't go, that they don't see behind the scenes. From the vendor not arriving on time, to a traffic jam, to the color of the fabric that you picked looking tacky in the space and pulling it at the last minute, and figuring, that's what makes keeping your calm is really important.
So now, how long have you been keeping your calm in this business?
Well, I've been keeping my calm in San Francisco for 15 years. Prior to that, I'm from New York, and was keeping it there for about the same amount of time.
Which is a harder city to do an event in.
Yeah, and I think,
New York or here?
It's interesting because New York, way back, I was the vice president of PR for the Rainbow Room.
Yes.
So we were doing fabulous events there, it was just over the top, and it was easier there because you sort of knew, you had very specifics. Here, because our society is a little less glitzy, not in a bad way, but in a more organic, authentic way.
Yeah.
The city's more authentic, so I think it's a little harder to do an event here.
So you think San Francisco is a little more authentic than New York?
Absolutely.
But society, quote unquote, is younger.
Oh, society's younger. Special events, New York by New York standards, are still a little more red carpety and big. And here, people are looking for the sense of, why am I coming to this event and what's in it for me?
Right. What is the, and I know it's hard, but one of your favorite event that you've done here in San Francisco?
Oh, it's without a doubt. We produced the SF Chefs San Francisco Food, the Food and Wine Festival for the city of San Francisco. And I should say that we do the PR, the marketing, the sponsorship development, and all the programming, and then a good pal of mine, Dominic Phillips, does all the production of the tent. So we don't do any of that tent production. We create the ideas and the events, and we PR them like you do, and then market them. And so it's also finding the right partners. But that is my favorite event. It's in its 5th year.
And it's for a good cause.
It's for a good cause, for 5 good causes. We raised $76,000 last year for hunger-related charities and the food bank and the Golden Gate Restaurant Scholarship Association. Our client is the Golden Gate Restaurant Association.
Right.
We co-created the idea with them.
Now, we're coming up on a big year for San Francisco. 2013 is the 150th anniversary of the Port. It's the 100th anniversary of Muni. We're coming up, getting ready for the 100th anniversary of the Pan-Pacific Exposition. And, of course, next year is America's Cup, the only international sporting event in the world next year, and it's here in San Francisco.
Yes.
How important are signature whole kind of metro events like that to the special event industry?
Well, I'd say they're really important for, first I have to say what a great year for our city, to have this sort of buzz. And we got Book of Mormon, last night, which has just been incredible. But I think for us, it makes it a little harder because everybody there's only so many venues that you can accommodate. So then you start looking at, well, where else can I put this? Or where else can we do something interesting? Or how are we going to make sure that people come to our event if they're being invited to something every night? And I think it raises the level of creativity a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's just the competition to do something like over the top.
Right, because I'm sure every client comes to you and says, Andrew, here's the budget, and I want it to be like that event, but totally different.
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately, baby?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, you get creative, but I think the other thing too is that you have to be realistic with people and say, maybe we don't want to do that big a hotel launch. Maybe we want to do something a little more intimate. Where You know, how I feel, because we do a lot of hospitality, hotels and restaurants and launches and concepts, and I feel that sometimes the famous opening night party is not even necessary, because you end up pissing somebody off anyway, because somebody gets missed on the guest list. And so we're not a big fan of big opening nights for hotels and restaurants. We like more casual celebrations that sort of lead up to the opening.
Now, you've told us your favorite. If you can name it, if not, I understand, but do you remember some event that you just thought, boy, I wish I was on a lifeboat off this deck?
Yes, the first one that comes to mind is back to my New York days. I was doing the opening night of Sunset Boulevard at the Rainbow Room, and I was getting Glenn Close out of her dressing room to make her grand appearance down the steps at the Rainbow Room at the party, and I walked into a wall and had a concussion, and that's the last I remember of that whole party.
You must have been walking pretty fast, Andrew.
Yeah, I was. And Glenn Close, I remember waking up and her like holding me in her hands, you know. But then after that, I don't remember anything else.
Wow.
I heard the party was great and everything went off without a hitch.
That's pretty dramatic. That would have been a column mention for sure.
Yeah, so that's the that nightmare of a party. You know, when you think about, well, how could but the party went off great. I don't remember it.
Right. But never an event that went just south, not the way you expected.
You know, it's really interesting. I think there's always little things that go. You know what I think the hardest part is when you have an RSVP list and there's a fickleness, so you know X amount is going to fall off. We've had events where way more than we thought was going to fall off, and then the client's upset and you're
That's
upset.
hard for a sit down.
And they spent a lot of money on the event, and you're moving people around at the last minute. I did a dinner like that, about a year and a half ago for a client, and when you're inviting the press, sometimes there are a little, the other things come up, and she had a bit of a meltdown, right before the dinner occurred, because it was a sit-down dinner and there were people missing. So I do sort of remember that night thinking, wow, I really have to take one for the team here and just calm her down and move people around.
In our last few minutes, for someone who's thinking about doing a special event, other than hiring you, give some advice, some do's and especially some don'ts for putting together a successful big event.
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing is if you're going to hire somebody to work with you on anything, you're hiring us for a reason. So, not that it's not your event, and our job is to create something that you want, or, again, I always say with any sort of opening, like, this is your restaurant and this is your hotel, so our job is to bring your vision to life. But I would say, take it serious, take the person that you're hiring seriously, respect the boundaries of the relationship. Like if they're saying to you that they don't think they can produce that on that budget, but here's, what we can do.
Yes.
Make sure you do that. And I think just be, I would say be realistic and be you're hiring a partner. And if you treat it that way, you're gonna have a great relationship,
Yeah. And in our last couple seconds, tell us if someone wants to learn more about your work and what you do, where do they go online?
Well, they go to my either my Facebook page, which is Andrew Freeman and Company, or they can go to our website, which is www.afnco.com.
Right.
And they can also just Facebook me or do whatever
we'll see
they
you
want
there.
to. Okay,
Next time we want to have Daisy and
Daisy and Tulip
on the show.
The Flower Girls.
Thanks. I'm David Perry. You've been watching 10%. We'll see you next week.